كن سعيدا كن فريدا عش بفخر في الحياة لا تبالي فالمعالي بالتحدي لا سواه كن سعيدا كن فريدا عش بفخر في الحياة لا تبالي فالمعالي بالتحدي لا سواه.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, as Dr. Salim Hussein, we'll be continuing with our series of healthy lifestyles. And this is basically looking at the different aspects in our lives that actually will improve and enable the health of our lifestyle. Today, specifically, we like to talk about spiritual life. And as we can remember previously, when we defined what is health, health actually has 4 dimensions. It has the physical aspect, it has the social aspect, it has the mental aspect, and WHO in 1983 actually added the aspect of spiritual aspect. So I would like briefly today, we look at what is spiritual health. Some dictionary define basically in general that spiritual health is the individual's aspect of looking what is the meaning and the purpose of life. And for us, especially Muslim, we know that already Allah in the Quran tells us that He has only created us so that we can worship Him. So ideally, we have been given the meaning and the answer for our being created is that we worship Allah. It is also the aspect that a person's relation between the human spirit and the soul. Most of us know and agree that beside our physical part, we have the inner part, that is the soul, that composes what a human being is. This spiritual health, actually many studies, about 3,000 studies have shown that it actually affects health in many ways. And this will include the other 3 aspects of health that were mentioned, or the definition of health. That is, spiritual health affects physical health. Spiritual health also affects the mental health. Spiritual health also affect the social health. So we like to see how this spiritual health actually enables us to cope with our lifestyles, make us more positive, and actually connect us to the higher deity, to our divine creator, that is Allah. For physical health, it has been shown that if somebody is spiritual, and I would like to be clear that somebody being spiritual does not necessarily need to be religious, but religion, somebody having an organized religious framework, helps him to be more spiritual. So it means somebody can actually be spiritual, can try to look for the inner meaning, the inner purpose, and the inner aspect by other ways. We know there are people who look at yoga, there are people who look at meditation, there are people who say that they look at nature for their inner peace. But for us, we like to see that our spiritual health is actually related very much to our religious health. So somebody who is religious enables him to be more spiritual. And the two are very much interlinked, but not necessarily the same. So for example, the spiritual health, it affects, there is so many correlation, positive correlation, and also negative correlation to health. For example, people who are very religious will mostly be prohibited to undertake substance abuse. They'll be prohibited to do what will harm others. In the long run, these actually positively affect the physical health of this person. We also know that in other extreme circumstances that some people might use religious negatively and may talk about spiritual health in their own culture or in their own meaning or in their own understanding. They use substances, for example, bang. We know there are some other religious sects that they actually put it in the forefront and use it. So it can actually negatively or positively affect your health. But we mostly look at what are the positive aspects of spiritual health and the religious health in terms of the healthy lifestyles in ourselves. It has also been shown that diseases like cardiovascular, that is diseases of the heart, actually has been reduced by people who are more spiritual, who are more religious, in the fact that it helps reduce their blood pressure. It has also been shown that it reduces the stress in these people, and it also been shown that if somebody is more religious, somebody is more spiritual, actually his immune goes up, so his immune status is better. So with these factors, in the long run, it can actually help stop diseases like cardiovascular disease. We know, especially in Islam, that religion is very much related to purity, to cleanliness, and proper sanitation. And we see that we, for example, during our salah, we are supposed to be pure, we are supposed to take ablution, and this in the long run not just helps to clean the physical body, but the inner part, the soul and the spirit part of the human being. And this is also correlated, or it has been attributed that it helps to stop many diseases, because if you are clean, if you wash your hands regularly and properly, it means that most of the time you'll be reducing the amount of germs, the transmission of diseases from one thing to the other. It also means that you'll be clean in terms of your body, you'll be clean in terms of the place that you are using. So these actually help to reduce the transmission of diseases, especially waterborne diseases. Spiritual health has also been shown that it has the connectiveness between you and your creator. And studies have shown also when a person is sick, for example, is ill, they actually, those who have attachment to higher deities, to their divine creator, they heal faster. It is also known that in religion aspects, people are close, people come together, they help each other. So if somebody is ill, for example, has a mental illness, he will have the social backup, he'll be supported, he'll have some significance going back to the society and also to recover. Spiritual health also has been shown that people who are spiritually, in terms of recovery, they recover faster, even if when they had trauma, because one, it reduces them having negative thoughts about what has happened. They related and accept that this is one of the things that can happen to them. And for us, we know that whatever it is positive that occurs or negative, it is the qadar of Allah, and we have to accept that and take it positively and look at it as something that it has been decreed to happen. So even in terms of trauma, it has been shown that people who are religious, people who are spiritual background, they heal better. In terms of spiritual health, and it also has been shown that actually it increases the social health, social connectivity, because most of the religious aspect involve putting people together, involve social aspect. For example, for us, during the 5 prayers, people need to come together. When coming together, people interact, people talk about their issues, people are supposed to know about each other, people encourage each other, people remind each other of things which are supposed to be done, positive things which are supposed to be done. And this actually enables, to create an environment that people can actually come and express themselves, people can come and discuss issues, which is important, especially in preventing mental health. We know issues like depression can be actually exacerbated, can be increased by people who do not know how to go to relate with others. They cannot go and talk to other people, and they cannot get social support or psychological support from others. So this interaction between the person, because of this religious aspect, actually has been shown that it helps in reducing aspects like mental health. The spiritual health has actually also been shown that people who practice spiritual aspects, people who practice religion, have religious practices, cultures that they follow. It actually has been shown it also reduces the mortality rate, that is the death rate in these people. So studies have been done between groups, that people who are following religion, who are spiritual, and those who are not. It has been shown that those who are following or have a spiritual background, actually the mortality rate, the death rate is less than those people who are not. also in terms of diseases, had I mentioned morbidity, it has been shown that people who are more religious are more spiritual. Their disease rate is also less. In some other studies, it has been shown that people who are more religious live actually about 10 more years more than those people who are not practicing religion or do not have a spiritual background or spiritual connectivities. Spiritual health, it helps us in several areas in terms of how can we be more resilient, how can we undertake stress in terms of different circumstances so that we can actually be able to overcome whatever is happening. Religious aspect also has shown that a person who is more religious is more contented. He becomes satisfied with whatever occurring, whether it is negative or whether it is positive. So this contentment, it has been shown that it helps people not to go over thinking, not to be stressed, and not also to be depressed. So it has been shown that it helps that type of person that is practicing spiritually or is practicing religion, that it can actually help him to actually absorb more of the trauma. And we know that with this spiritual background, if somebody is contented, that means that if something is positive, he is grateful, he shows gratification, he's great, and when it is negative, he believes it is a qadar, and also looks at it as an element that he can learn from, or it can element that he can look that it is like something that should have occurred. So in either way, the person is still positive. This enables him to move on in that negative situation, and it helps him actually recover more because now he undergoes the stages of trauma faster. He accepts it, does not deny that it has occurred to him. He starts the coping mechanism early enough, and the recovery also becomes better. So this is important in spiritual health, so that these negative things actually do not exacerbate or make you do not have a healthy lifestyle, as you accept what has happened and you move on very fast. And also spiritual health, when people are affected with these negative things, even if it's not an individual, they'll find mechanism to come together, they'll find mechanism to help each other, and they will be encouraging each other out of it because they understand why it has happened, and they will move on to see how they can recover early. So spiritual health has also been shown that in terms of coming out of a depressing situation, coming out of illness, it helps, and that is important for somebody to have a healthy lifestyle. We like now briefly to talk about the relation between spiritual health and satisfaction, the relation between spiritual health and mental health briefly, before we go to how can we practice this spiritual health and how does it help in the long run for us to be healthy. So in terms of satisfaction, we know that beside our physical, our material aspect, we have the non-material, the non-physical entity in ourselves that needs to be satisfied. And this non-material aspect is actually satisfied when it understands what is the bigger meaning or purpose of life. And that for us actually comes from what Allah tells us in terms of our purpose, in terms of what we should do, in terms of how we should relate with the people, the importance of living with people well, the importance of behaving well, the importance of helping each other, and more so the importance of why we should do these good things. So all these for us gives us a meaning for the inner, the spirit aspect, and our soul. So in terms of satisfaction, we know, for one, we know what is our purpose, and the two, we know that whatever we do has consequences. We will be accountable for what we do. So we already know the purpose and how we should undertake actually to have a spiritual health, to have this religious health, so that we can actually do it as we expected by our Creator. So it means that we already know the satisfaction that we'll get from practicing the aspect of our non-material aspect, the spiritual aspect, and these leads for us later, inshallah, to be actually blessed, to be paid in terms of thawab, in terms of what we are doing. In terms of satisfaction, as we had earlier mentioned, that once a person knows that whatever happened is qadar, is something that has been ordained to occur, then it becomes easier for that person to accept what has occurred and to move on. So this ideally moves the person from the stage of happiness to be very gratitude. He's satisfied, and to show that he's very happy about the same. And the negative is that if something negative happens, he accepts it, moves on, and this helps this person ideally not to have negative thoughts, which can lead to stress, which can lead to depression. Hence, by these, he's helped so that he can move on to the next stage. In terms of mental health, it has been shown that most people who actually practice have a religious background do not get mental diseases, and when they do get them, they actually recover faster. But there are other aspects, other extremes that we know. People, if they really hold to these beliefs without thinking, with some extreme, it can actually lead for them to have a mental illness, because they'll be having a very particular way of wanting to do things, a very particular way of holding to things, which may affect his relation with the way he does things, his relation or her relation with the other people. So it might end up also not being positive. One person who is practicing spiritual aspect, as we have shown, that it can affect his life positively in terms of physical health, it can affect his mental health, it can affect his social health. These will be important in the long run, because these are the aspects for you to be healthy. It's not just about not having a disease. So for one to be able to practice spiritual health, there are some things he should be doing. One, this person should know what aspects of spiritual health he should practice. So for us, ideally, we should know what we've been commanded in the Quran and in the Hadith. Two, there is the aspect of you being contented with the approach that you are doing it. What feeling is it giving you in the long run? It's not just about practicing ritual, which really to you might not have meaning. So you really need to know, you need to understand, you need to learn that these religious aspect, these religious practices, this spirituality that I'm practicing, in the long run, what does it mean to me? In the long run, how does it affect you? So beside the practicing, beside the knowing of what the religious aspect you should know, the approach is very important, because it determines whether the things that you are practicing will actually really affect you, will really have some effect on you or not. Then the final intention of why you are practicing them is very important, because if you are just practicing because you found people doing so, or you have seen people, or you have been forced to do them, it will have no effect, it will have no positive effect to you. So the ultimate meaning of what you're practicing has to be known to you. So you need to know what you need to practice. You need to do it in a particular manner that has some sense to you. And also, for you, you have to show some gratitude. You show some acceptance that whatever is happening, you are actually happy about it, and you are actually thanking Allah for that. So these blessings that we are always having, how do you thank Allah for the same? Then you need to share. If you really know, you understand that these religious aspect, these spiritual aspect have positive effect in you. How are you sharing with your immediate family? How are you sharing them with the neighbor? And how are you sharing with the bigger society in terms of having a positive effect? And for us, is actually clearly outlined how you should do these religious practices, how your spiritual aspect, you should actually move it and do it. Then how we should relate to a family. We know that even, for example, before having a family, what are the quality of either spouse that you're supposed to have? When you have children, we know that the children have a right over us, and also the rights of the parents over the children. These are clearly stated and put down. So how are we implementing them? We know that we have several regulations, recommendation when we are living with our neighbors, while we should relate with them. We should not have anything that is negative to them. We know that our tongue, that is whatever we say, should not be harmful to them. We know that even in terms of sharing, we need to share with them. We need to see that our neighbors are living well. We need to see that they do not sleep hungry while we are having something to eat. So these neighborhood relations are clearly actually stated. And then the bigger society, how we are supposed to live with it. We know basically that whatever we do, we should actually have positive effect on the bigger society. Whatever we do, we should actually reduce to reduce harm for us, the best of us among those who actually encourage what is good and prevent or prohibit what is negative. And in the long run, whether the people you are living in are with the same religion or not, but harm should not go to any human being. So it is important that we are dealing with them positively, and this is clearly stated in our religion. So this spiritual aspect, there are some areas that it has been shown actually it helps in the long run. So one, it reduces the stress that a person can undergo. Two, it reduces the depression. I'd mentioned that also it's been shown it increases the longevity, the lifespan of a person, and then it brings those connections. And this connection is at a different level. One is between the individual and the creator, between the individual and the immediate people, between the individual and the bigger society. These connections are very important because they have been shown. Actually, they bring up that oneness. They bring out that aspect of positiveness. It helps to reduce negative things because people will be interacting, they'll be talking to each other, they'll be discussing, and they'll be helping each other. Spiritual health, also it has been shown that it increases the resilience of a person. So in terms of whatever you face, you have actually more mechanism to withstand these aspects, so that you can actually be able to undergo more and take in more pressure than a normal person should do, because you have a fallback. You understand or you accept that whatever happens is something that is ordained, and you take it positively. Religious aspect has also been shown that it increases the physical aspect, and more so because it prohibits some of the things that will affect the physical health. We know that people who are more spiritual, people who are more religious, because their culture, their religion stops them from, example, substance abuses. So you do not use these substance abuses. So these are some of the things actually also reduces the health of the physical health. These are some of the things actually also affect your mental health. We know there are several substance that actually are related to increasing mental illness, to increasing diseases like psychosis, to affecting diseases like schizophrenia in mental health. So we know these substances which are actually prohibited in religion, they help you in maintaining health. So because of this practice of your spiritual health, you don't use those substances, they are reduced, hence you become more healthy. So in practicing spiritual health, beside it being positive in itself, it actually also affects positively. It has a direct relation with the other aspect of health. So it increases your physical health, it increases your mental health, it increases your social health, and in these are day-to-day practices. They actually enable you to have a healthy lifestyle. And what we are looking, or what we are driving, is what are these aspects of health that, when combined for us, lead us to a healthy lifestyle. For us, what is very important is how do we have a complete wellness, well-being, not just the aspect of having not a disease or not being ill. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
كن سعيدا كن فريدا عش بفخر في الحياة لا تبالي فالمعالي بالتحدي لا سواه كن سعيدا كن فريدا عش بفخر في الحياة لا تبالي فالمعالي بالتحدي لا سواه